Alex Wood, is there anything better than ex-Dodgers beating the Dodgers? Come on, for real now.
No, it was a good night last night, man. Jock's been hot to start the year. Obviously, to get a couple runs early against those guys is important, especially against a starter like Dustin May. So a good night all around. It'd be better if we can take a series here at home before we go back on the road tonight.
You have a presence out there, man, that it feels like you can kind of feel your will. And for, whether you're the 1, the 2, the 3 starter, it's like you have a feeling on the mound when we're watching you, like you've got this I don't know, I call it a will, but I mean, it's like you want to turn around losing streaks, and it feels like you're the stopper. Do you feel that when you go out there? Is that something that you're cognizant of?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, especially at home, when you've lost a couple of games, you want to go out there and you want to give our guys the best chance they can to win. But I mean, yeah, when I go out there, I want to be the guy that they can depend on, and I know I try and go out there and bring it every time and have that energy and that focus. I think that stuff rubs off on other guys, and especially when you've been around for a while, guys expect you to lead, on the field and in the clubhouse, and so. That's my goal when I go out there, and so just happy to have a good start, and hope we build off that and win a series tonight and keep going well.
Alex, you've played for both teams, so I'm sure you understand the fan base as well. Look, these are both juggernaut-type franchises historically, a lot of resources. But for whatever reason, especially recently, Giants fans feel like a confidence complex against the Dodgers, and in particular, the way things went head-to-head last year, it really fed into it. And then you see what happens in Game 1. That felt like a very uncomfortable, familiar feeling to Giants fans. I wonder if you could share with fans what it feels like on the team in terms of confidence against the Dodgers.
Yeah, I don't think, I don't know if it's cliche or not. I don't think, try not to look too much into the opponent. It's a long season. And, we feel like we've got a really deep, talented roster. And then if we play our game and play the way we're capable of playing, we feel like we can match up with anybody. Obviously, we got our teeth kicked in, that the first game against the Dodgers. They got a good team. You got to come in, you got to be sharp on both sides of the ball. Otherwise, a team that's averaging over 100 wins for the last however many years, they're going to do that to you. So you got to come in, you got to play clean, crisp baseball, you got to execute, and, you got to try and go on the outside.
You're a pro. This is not your first rodeo. You've been around the game a lot, and I'm just kind of wondering. You're one out away from qualifying for a victory last night, and Gabe comes and gets you. Nobody's going to show up their manager, but what is going through your mind as he's walking out there? Are you hacked off, or are you totally buying in? What's going through your mind as you see him come out?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't think I'm ever going to be happy, leaving the game with two outs in the fifth. I think that this day and age, all that I ask for, anybody asks for, is just kind of take it start by start and go based on, how you feel like, I've thrown or whoever else has thrown to that point in the game. I definitely would have liked to be left in there for at least Will Smith, but that was a decision they made, and, it's kind of out of my hands. It ended up working out last night. We won the game, but I mean, there's never going to be a time where I'm going to be happy in that situation. I want the ball. I thought last night, the way I threw, I deserved to face Will Smith, but they felt like they had a better matchup with Junis, and so they brought him in, and especially after the game the first night. But I always want the ball, man. That's how I am, and I would have liked to stay in that situation for sure, but. Just glad it worked out and we came out on top last night.
For a pitcher, Alex, and this is Alex Wood with us here on Willard and Dibs. Larry's in for Dibs on 95.7 The Game. Alex, does it factor into it sort of the story of how you get to second and third with 2 outs? It was clear that you thought you had Betts. It was a close pitch. You thought you had him. So is that kind of in your head? You're like, yeah, there's runners at second and third, but I don't really feel like I did anything wrong to get to that spot.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't think there'd been a whole lot of, good quality contact the whole night. I had some free passes, but I thought my stuff was good. And, I felt confident facing Will Smith. And so it was more about the situation in general, how I'd thrown up to that point. I felt like, I was more than ready to, finish that inning off. But, it's just the way it goes sometimes, and you got to control what you can control. And so, I still felt good about my start, but I hope I'll feel a little bit better next time when we go a little bit deeper in the game.
I was down in spring training a few weeks ago, and I'm talking to Keaton Wynn. And Keaton Wynn, he's telling me how he had Tommy John surgery. And I said, man, that surgery's amazing now. It's like you're better than you were before. He's like, no kidding, man. I was 92 on the gun pre-surgery. I can touch 100 now. You had the surgery well before you got to the bigs. Did you notice a lot more juice in your arm after the TJ surgery?
Yeah, I'd say. I mean, everybody's different. I think that it's not the surgery itself. It's really the length of time you spend rehabilitating your arm, all the shoulder care, all the arm care, all the soft tissue work. You're able to basically train, pretty hard for a long period of time, focus on your body. I think those are the things that, you end up seeing kind of shine through as far as any type of velocity uptick.
Alex, you were always a quick worker before this pitch clock. I wonder if you find this to maybe be almost an advantage because now the hitter has to go at a pace you're comfortable with. Is that the case?
Yeah, I mean, the first couple starts in spring training, you're not used to having an actual clock. You just kind of go based on that internal clock you've always had from playing. And so once you kind of got a feel of the timing of everything, having an actual clock locked in on you, I feel pretty comfortable. I really don't look at it that much during the game because I feel like I kind of have it down for the most part. And so definitely feel like I didn't have to have as big of an adjustment as a lot of other guys are having to make.
Some guys, some pitchers look similar. Your kind of herky-jerky motion looks different than other pitchers, and I would imagine the hitters don't like it. Have you always thrown that way, or did you see that it was deceptive and kind of lean into it?
Yeah, I mean, I've always had a more unique delivery as far as getting to the places throughout my delivery that I need to get to, and nobody really ever messed with me when I was growing up and in the college. Just kind of let me be, which I'm thankful for. And so I've continued to evolve my delivery over the course of my career, probably a little bit smoother than I was at the beginning, but just something I've always done. Alex
Wood with us here on 95.7 The Game. Hey, Alex, you get a game like that last night against the Dodgers, your rivals, and you get real used to facing those hitters. Now you'll face them less this year because of this balanced schedule, and you'll have to face some hitters maybe that you're not familiar with. What are your thoughts on that?
I love the new schedule. More travel for us, which makes it a little bit more difficult, but who wants to play the same team 19 or 20 times, over the course of the season? And so I'm all for the new schedule. I think it's going to be great for baseball, different fan bases, seeing different teams consistently throughout the year. I'm really, really excited about it.
You came up in Georgia and you played at Georgia and you came up with the Braves, and that's such a different climate in the summertime than it is here. Would you rather pitch in that unbelievable humidity? I mean, you're loose as soon as you walk out on the field, but, here you don't have that humidity. You're not sweating like a dog. How would you compare the challenge between being a starter on the West Coast and San Francisco compared to, the ATL?
Yeah, the East Coast is probably a little bit more difficult, especially with the clock now. But I grew up pitching in that. I always loved it. But I kind of described to everybody as like once you leave that humidity that you're consistently used to, pitching in the summers and spring and whatnot, and you go to the West Coast, it definitely is more difficult going back to it when you're making most of your starts out here on the West Coast when the weather's pretty much perfect every night. And so I prefer I think stamina-wise, I think being on the West Coast helps a little bit. But it's just all about what you're used to, man. If you go back to the East Coast and you're making the majority of your starts throughout the course of the year, in that humidity, it's just kind of all about what you're used to. You know what I mean?
Alex, sticking with the rules changes, the doing away with the shift, I think people thought, okay, more balls in play because guys won't be swinging for the fences so much, fewer strikeouts. Do you see that? Or do you notice the hitters with a different approach, or have they not made that change?
No, same approach. There's nothing different offensively as far as approach, in my opinion. I just think that some of those balls, those ground balls, particularly for left-handed hitters that historically have been outs with the shift, are probably getting through more than they ever have up to this point, and some balls up the middle. But as far as approach, there's no difference really, in my opinion.
I love the new clocks in one way because the games don't go 4 hours, 4.5 hours, and it feels right in the first through the sixth. But Alex, I got to say, when it gets to the seventh, eighth, and ninth, the natural kind of slowing down of the game that kind of tells you that it's a tense moment or that, we're getting down to the nitty gritty. It's like, to me, it's lost something with the clocks. What do you think of the tempo of the game in the late innings with the new clock?
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. And I think you're probably not wrong on that. But overall, in my opinion, with all the pitch clock stuff is, I think things got to a snail's pace late in the game. You have relievers that are taking 30, 35 seconds between pitches, hitters taking forever to get in the box, all of that stuff. And so for me, the way I've kind of looked at the pitch clock is, there's a clock that you have to, and rules you have to follow, but really it's taking the game back to how it, probably was in the 90s and the 80s, and, back when, this is the pace that things were at, for a long time. It just has gotten so exaggerated and so bogged down. To me, the clock is just bringing the pace back to where it historically, had been, and so I don't really look at it as like a massive rule change. We're just kind of, picking up the efficiency piece of it a bit, if that makes sense.
Well, Alex, man, thanks for coming on, and I'll ask you this too on the way out. Like, I think to Giants fans, last night felt like a big deal. I know it's only the 11th game of the year. Did that feel like a big deal to you guys?
Yeah, for sure. And I think tonight will be a big game as well. It'll be great. If we can finish off this with a series winning at the Dodgers, at home before we go back on the road, and get back to 500. And it was a big win last night. There's no doubt about it. You don't want to come in and lose 2 home series to start the year. And so we'll have a big game tonight. Hopefully we'll come out on top and head into the road trip with some momentum.
Yeah, you changed the morale of the baseball fan in this city, seriously, with 4 2/3 last night. Alex, great job, man, and thanks again for coming on.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Alex.
All right, there it is. That's Alex Wood.